Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Public Works and Finance Committee meeting of the Moscow City Council. It is August 22nd, 2022. Up here around the table are Councilors Laughlin and Lewis and our City Supervisor, Bill Belknap. I am Gina Terusio. Our first item is the approval of the Public Works Finance Committee August 8th, 2022 minutes. How'd they look to you?
Look good. Sparkly.
Okay.
Look great.
Approved. Our second item is a public meeting, a lot division and lot line adjustment of 202 and 208 Henley Street. Amy Henrik, hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me here today.
You're welcome.
Before you, today you have a lot division and a lot line adjustment for 202 and 208 Henley Street. This is the subject property here. As you see, it's just east of Main Street, south of the Troy Highway, just off of Henley Street. The zoning of the subject property is R4. The current lot sits at just under 52,000 square feet and just over 8,000 square feet. As I said, zoning of that property is R4 designation. They have a lot width minimum of 50 feet, minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet. And the setbacks for those are 15 feet in the front, 20 in the rear, and a combined total of 15 for the sides, with no side being less than 5. So the applicant's proposing new lot configurations to divide off the two separate duplexes, as indicated here on the screen. The current structures, that would allow for lots to be 5,000 square feet, 6,142 square feet, and just over 48,000 square feet. This is a survey that the applicant had provided showing the new lots and how they would be adjusted, and the new lot, how it would be divided. And this shows the existing structures and their setbacks. Both duplexes do currently meet existing setbacks, with the exception of a stairwell and an awning that connects the two structures. So staff's recommendation today is to take public comment if applicable, and I recommend the lot line adjustment and division for approval with one condition, and that is that the roof structure currently connecting both structures at 202 and 208 Henley Street be removed in order to meet those setback requirements. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay, should we do our public meeting first, or do we take questions from the? Okay, let's go ahead and have a public meeting if anyone here would like to have their opinion heard about this lot line division and lot line adjustment. Now is the time. You got to come up and tell us who you are and where you live, and then give us your thoughts. Okay, do you guys have any questions for Amy?
It's going to remain the same usage.
Correct.
Right? Other than that, I'm great.
I think the condition of getting that connector in order to get where we need to be is a good thing. So,
Yes.
okay, so can this be consent?
It can, yes.
How about consent?
I'm good with that.
Awesome. Amy, thank you.
This is a committee be recommending approval with staff's recommendation.
Yes.
Vision. Okay.
With that condition, yes. Okay, the third item on the list is the lot line adjustment of 815 and 819 Courtney Street. Again with Amy.
And I'm going to withdraw. I recuse myself from this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so in front of you, we have a lot line adjustment for 815 and 819 Courtney Street. The lots you can see here in red are just east of the Joseph Ball Fields and just north of Joseph Street and Courtney Street. Current lots sit just over 14,000 square feet and just over 10,000 square feet. The applicants are proposing the lot line be shifted just ever so slightly, about 5 feet in each direction. The reason for this is to accommodate the best place for a fence by both property owners. This is a exhibit provided by the applicant showing the existing structures. As you can see, both structures meet all requirements for setbacks. If approved, the new lots would just be adjusted by 11 feet, making Courtney Street just over, 815 Courtney Street just over 14,300 square feet, and reducing 819 Courtney to 10,007 square feet. Those are both in the R2 zoning designation where lot minimums. Width is 60 feet. Lot square footage is a minimum of 7,000. Both of these new lots will meet those requirements. So it is for those reasons that I would recommend approval of the lot line adjustment with no conditions. And again, I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
I don't have any questions on this one.
This one seems fairly straightforward. So I say that 2 of the 3 of us recommend approval, and we'll put it on consent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks for your recusal. Our 4th item is the Paradise Pathway Lighting Project bid results. Nate Sir and Cameron Lee.
All right, it'll be just
Come on
one
up.
moment while I pull up the visual here.
Okay.
I guess I didn't save the apologies. We'll just leave this one up. I had done a PowerPoint, but I didn't get it saved in the right folder. So fortunately for you, you don't have to look at it. It was nearly a repeat of the one that you had looked at 2 weeks
For
ago.
the
So
lighting, I
there were
love it.
very few changes.
I love it.
Yes. So this will be for the second phase of the project that we talked about last 2 weeks, which is the Paradise Pathway Lighting Project. This will extend from the Steiner Underpass to the proposed location of the new 95 underpass.
Oh, yeah.
So this would be along the creek there. We had already broke out and received bids in the amount of approximately $50,000 for the conduit installation. So this portion is to go on later, set bases, set bollards, and set overhead lighting. So this will be the final. After this, we'll be ready to energize the system. And we had an engineer's estimate for this project in the amount of $155,400. We solicited bids from 3 electrical contractors. Again, this goes back to getting that specialty contractor who's doing what they're good at.
Yeah.
And we received bids ranging from $168,700 to $410,600. So it had quite a range, but they were grouped towards the bottom. So we were pretty happy with the comparison to our engineer's estimate. And because of that, we would recommend accepting the low bidder. Thank you, Taylor. Apparently, my PowerPoint was found, so you don't have to look at it if you don't want, because I'm to the questions slide.
We don't want to miss any.
But you
visuals.
prepared. You prepared
I did
for it. There you
prepare.
go.
So we can go right to the question slide. So
Awesome.
there we are.
I
love it.
Do you guys have any questions for Nate and Cameron?
I think it looks great.
And I know we've been adjusting estimates as we go, but I'm like quietly kind of hopeful since we're things look a little bit closer and a little less like $3 Yelp vibes. So I'm feeling good that, and I don't know if that's just in my head that that some of the surprises are coming back into the realm of
And
reality.
that's correct. We were, and I can show you a little
Yeah, no,
highlight of
good.
this. So if we look at our previous engineer's estimate for both phases was about 180,000. And what we received were bids in the 360,000 range, twice that. If I count on a moderate expenditure of the contingency, we're looking at probably 225,000 for the combined phase 1 and phase 2 as we bid it. So we're seeing still slightly higher than what our original estimate in 21 was, but nowhere near what the actual pricing that we received. So
Good. I'm
Fortunately.
really excited to see this happen,
Yes.
and to energize the system is really a good thing.
thank you.
So, shall we recommend approval of this one?
When I said
Awesome.
those were nice PowerPoints, even if we didn't have to see. them.
Excellent.
Yes, beautiful
Well,
slides. Yeah.
Thank you
This
very
one-
much.
This one feels a little dated. to me. Like I've
It
maybe
had
seen it before.
2 changes. One of them was changing phase 1 to phase 2.
Love
So
Really?
Good job.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
both of you. Okay, our next item is the Logos Property Development Agreement. Todd Drage, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
Good.
Thank you. As the title suggests, I'm here to present the Logos Property Development Agreement. The subject property is located the northeast side of town, just east of the city's Mountain View Park property. A little background on why a development agreement is needed. On June 6th of 2016, Logos School filed an application for a conditional use permit The permit requested that they construct a school and sports facilities in the church, and through the CUP process, it was determined that public improvements were needed to help facilitate those buildings. The CUP detailed the work would be completed in 3 phases, which I'll go over in a sec. And the Board of Adjustment approved the CUP in August of that year. Phase 1 entailed public improvements, which are the roundabout at the north of the screen, widening of Mountain View Road from the proposed roundabout to Slonica Drive, and then a new roadway to facilitate traffic and the utilities in the roadway for the school, and then a public bridge from the new road to a public pedestrian bridge from the new road to the pathway in Mountain View Park. Phase 2 was a school and some ancillary structures and parking lot. And then phase 3 was that chapel. On 2021, the applicant filed to amend the CUP, requested to revise the phasing. Phase 1 was still the public improvements. Phase 2 was a fellowship hall. And then phase 3 would be the school, church, ancillary buildings, and then the pedestrian walkway bridge. Applicant requested in the amendment that phase 1 and phase 2 be completed concurrently. The Board of Adjustment approved, but required that security be in place to cover the costs of the public improvements prior to issuing any permits for phase 2. Here's a revised phasing plan. The green is the phase 1. Blue is that phase 2 with the fellowship hall and parking lots. And then phase 3 would be the rest of the structures. In order to hold security for public improvements, the city's mechanism to do so is a development agreement. We have a standard template that we use, and most of it's already pretty worked out and it's carried over from development agreement to development agreement. And so the standard language for things like public improvements, securities, warranty period, as constructed drawings and other legalese remain the same. Mm-hmm. There were some LOGOS specific changes. Primarily the inclusion of public improvements and then a phasing. The phasing was just basically detailed from the amended CUP that was figured out. And so the modifications to the public improvement section, developer covenant, just included these requirements for public improvements. An additional requirement is for a LOGOS lift station. That wasn't included in the CUP process, but through the civil design, it was determined that the sewage would have to be lifted into the city's gravity system. So that's a public improvement that will be constructed by the developer, and then the city will own and operate once that's done. And so staff recommends approval of the development agreement. And with that, I can stand for any questions you have.
You guys have any questions?
I have a question. So Exhibit A and B are both like Post Falls examples. So I guess do we just not have something on like Moscow letterhead? Are we just following the similar standards, or what's the what behind that?
Yeah, so the city has development standards, but we haven't done a developer-driven lift station for quite a while. And so the way the code reads is that the developer needs to design a product or civil design, and it's approved by the city engineer. And so rather than just kind of saying, hey, let's leave that open, we looked around and found some standards to design to. We sent them around to our staff and Post Falls. We looked at a number of them, and actually this was done. You'll see the Eddington subdivision was a very similar process. And so this sort of gave everybody a target to hit rather than it being kind of nebulous and saying, well, we need to design a good system. And so there's some parts of that
Yes, that's some markups.
Standards. We had markups, yeah. Okay. And actually, thanks for reminding me. That was one thing that didn't make it into that development agreement markup. There's one section, and I can put these in there, of those standards. If you look at the last page of that attachment where the final acceptance spare parts list, that was never agreed to beforehand. I just didn't get that into this one. And so that wasn't included in your packet, but we would like to add that strike of those spare parts list for the development agreement that would go to council.
Okay. I have a question. It probably should have come up a year or two ago. Sure. But so you're widening on the north side, and it also looks like the improvements are on the north side, and that kind of makes sense because it's more open land and you're not having to deal with people. But I'm concerned about the fact that the park is actually on the south side and the school is on the south side. And I just wonder whether or not people will, in fact, is there some way to ensure that people make it over into the pedestrian walking section on the north side and are not continuing to walk where they walk right now, which is on the south side?
Sure, yeah. I included that kind of zoomed out view. The actual current design, and it might be modified a little bit during construction, but just to widen on the north side because there's more area to do so. But stripe the bottom side, the south side of the road, to have that 3.5 foot pedestrian.
That's what I wanted you to say. I was really hoping that was it. I kind of looked at it and I thought, I think it may be that, but I'm just going to get that confirmed because if not, we got people.
Crossing the roundabout and then having to cross back.
Oh,
for the deal.
roundabouts
So
are
that was-
enough.
Yeah, so that was kind of the design that's there right now.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
I have one
Go
last
ahead.
question,
Go
and
ahead.
it's rookie question probably. So I know there's the clause that says no parkland dedication is required, which like it makes sense, right? It's a private school, but I guess I'm wondering, is the threshold for things like parkland dedication driven by like number of new residences that will be brought in by a new development?
So typically parking is required when you create new building lots through a
Okay.
subdivision. This is just the development of a single tract of land, so it does not trigger our subdivision development
Okay.
requirements. The amount of land that's required generally is a percentage of the net developable area of the subdivision.
Okay.
And that varies based on zoning district to account for the number of dwellings you would anticipate to have per square foot of area based on different zoning designations. So for this, it just was the property was never divided by subdivision, and that would be our trigger.
Would be the triggering thing.
Correct.
Okay, that helps. And I guess I was going to ask, and this is probably more of a question for Logos, just to understand if those fields are going to be open to the public. And I don't think it'll be, they likely won't see an issue because they're right by Mountain View Park. So there is something nearby. I just don't want, they can redirect traffic that way. The other question I was going to
Was that a
ask.
question?
That wasn't.
No, I was, the parkland got me thinking about it. Was like, oh, well, of course they wouldn't dedicate parkland because it's a private school. Like they wouldn't need to trigger it, but I'm just,
Got the
them
linkage now.
parks were on the mind. The occupancy thing. There's something saying like there can't be any occupancy until the city signed off on everything. I'm guessing that's tied to buildings, not tied to sports fields with bleachers on site. Is that right?
Generally, it's for the structure. So
With fire
it's-
inspection
when
and-
this allows, so if they provide the security, then we can issue the building permit for the structure, but they can't occupy it until all the public improvements are complete.
Ruby.
So generally, this just gets a head start on construction while they're working on finishing those public improvements, but they have to have them complete before they get occupancy, or at least
Awesome.
final occupancy.
You got my
You talked somewhat about the pedestrian bridge. Where exactly is the pedestrian bridge going to be?
It hasn't been fully defined, but I think if you look at
Isn't it
this
over
one
F?
here, southwest corner, it's the very bottom little rectangle there at the south,
So does it take you
right
basically
there.
Is it at the
over
very end of
over the little creek and onto the pathway that goes
Correct.
around Good Sam? That's what I was
That was
thinking it was.
intended to
yeah.
provide a walking route for children who may be in the F Street area.
I
that
was
would have a way to
assuming
get
that
across
was
the
it, but I
creek
wanted to
school.
get that
Yeah,
clear.
that's
Thank you.
it.
That makes perfect sense to me. Thank you so much.
I have one last question because I know that the
Believe you.
I know, yeah, you're right. Can't prompt. One last
Ask away,
question
no
on
problem.
this agenda item. How about that qualifier?
And that's still a stretch, but go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. So is there plans to have, there's the pedestrian bridge right here. Is there a plan for vehicle bridge capacity from F across to the other side? Like I know there's been a lot of other movement happening there, but I can't remember if that's also
It is
with
shown
this,
on our long-term transportation and street plan,
but not
but
within
F Street
this.
is south of the Logos property. So
Right.
it actually hits to the property owner to the south. It is envisioned. So this pedestrian bridge would be probably, if you think about where the path is and where F Street intersects, if you walk up and the path parallels the creek and then it starts taking a turn to
Yep,
the west,
right at the
that
turn.
it'd be right. That's where
Okay.
the pedestrian bridge would be located. The vehicular bridge would be located obviously at the end of F Street, and that would be dependent upon future development of property to the south of Logos.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Consent agenda.
I would say so too. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Another development agreement. This one's for the Eddington First Edition, which is on the other side of town, just south of the city's Pollution River Drive Park property, south of the U of I Arboretum. Quick background, Mike's going to get a little more in a second, but the preliminary plat for this was submitted in 2021. It's a 27-acre area with 105 lots, 20 lots in the residential office zone, 17 of which are townhomes. 55 in the R3 zone. There's 55 townhome lots and 30 standard single-family lots. This preliminary plat was approved by City Council June 7th of 2021. A little more background, because of the size of the subdivision, because the road to enter it goes across park property, the city and the developer BBC LLC entered into a MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, to spell out the requirement for frontage improvements along the south side of West Palouse River Drive, to facilitate additional traffic, both foot and vehicular, and then for a cost share agreement for that Conestoga Street that goes from Palouse River Drive into the subdivision. We'll talk about that a little more. Similar to the last one, a lot of the standard development agreement language was unchanged. Addition-specific language would be inclusion of those improvements that I just discussed. There's also a lift station on this one. The developer requested the addition be split into 2 phases, and I'll go over that in a second. And then the parkland dedication for this, it detailed what was required, but through the planning and zoning and preliminary plat process, it was determined to defer that to later addition, get a little further from City Park. And so addition-specific language, again, it was just spelling out those requirements in the MOA, and the MOA was included as attachment, which had more detail for both of those improvements. And then again, the Eddington sewage lift station, there's a lift station that's required for this subdivision. That was spelled out as well. And so the phasing plan for right now is phase 1 would include the 30 single-family homes on the east side of the subdivision, requiring the Palouse River Drive frontage improvements to be constructed, Conestoga Street extension, including the bridge and all the improvements to be constructed, and then the Eddington lift station to be constructed as well. And then phase 2 would be the remaining 75 lots and any infrastructure required to service those at a later date. And so with that, staff recommends approval of development agreement, and I can stand for any of those questions.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Could you remind me, go back a slide, could you remind me, like, what's the difference in terms of, I know we heard it, but I don't quite remember.
Sure.
The phase 2, the difference in the layout than phase 1 in terms of like housing and development and such.
Yeah, so phase 1 on the on the right there is the 30 single family lots.
Right.
And then phase 2 would be the additional, the multifamily. And then there's two large residential office and then another residential office up on the top corner there.
That's exactly what it looks like, and I just wanted to confirm it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys have any other questions? Haley?
I have one.
I would not enumerate them. If I could be rude enough to just say I got a
Feel free
question.
to ask away.
You're good.
On page 7, and I don't know if I'm looking at the right version of the development agreement, but page 7.10 phasing, it says no phasing has been requested for this edition. So is this the updated?
Yeah.
Am I looking at the right one? Okay, then I must be looking at the old one that got.
Proposed, and it's just a description of the 2 phases. And so
Okay, that might not be the one that Matt. I see the one that says dense, which is like my new favorite word. It's like the first 3 pages are describing the lots, and then I think the one that made it in the packet doesn't have the phasing described. I'm game. I'm happy with it. I'm whatever it takes to get some more houses built. I'm game. I don't have concerns, but
well, I'll make sure that one.
as long as what's coming to
into
us is the phasing
packet.
request,
Yes,
then we're good.
Absolutely, yes. I apologize for that.
No, your agenda.
Okay. Consent agenda. Thank you very much, Todd.
Yeah.
So was that was the development agreement?
Yeah, there's just one final.
Okay, so let me tell people what the title is.
Okay, good. You need a drum roll?
Yeah,
Please.
or an accent maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the development agreement for the Eddington First Edition. Now we're going to talk about the monumentation agreement for the Eddington First Edition.
Yep, correct. So,
Awesome.
monumentation agreement for the Eddington First, as you know, Idaho code requires that property pins be set at the time of platting. However, that's not really possible to do or always possible to do because they're constructing the subdivision. And so code allows for the developer and the city to enter into agreement to defer those as long as the security is in place for the city to be able to place those pins at a later date if they have to. And so this is the city's standard monumentation agreement language. I haven't really been in it. So with that, we recommend approval and can answer any questions you have.
It's a really hard one. The consent agenda.
Consent.
I don't think
And I
people
don't
all
have
see
any
this.
questions. Well,
Okay.
just kidding.
questions.
No questions.
All right, Todd, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the Eddington First Edition Final Plat. Mike Ray. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
So before you today, we have the Eddington First Edition Final Plat. So this is what Todd was just discussing. Provide a little bit more detail here. So June 7th of 2021, City Council conducted a public hearing and approved. There was really 4 actions. The first one was the annexation of a 235-acre property that included the adoption of the comprehensive plan land use designation. So it was previously auto urban residential and rural and agricultural. And the adopted designation was high density residential as well as auto urban residential. And then the zoning designation was currently agricultural forestry, and that was changed upon annexation to the residential office and medium density residential, which is our R3 zoning designation. Eddington First Edition, and Todd covered this briefly, 27-acre area, 105 lots. Those range from 2,328 to 63,105 square feet in size. Within the residential office zone, there was 20 lots, 17 of which were townhouse lots. R3 designation included 55 townhouse lots and 30 standard single-family lots. And then June of this year, the applicant submitted the final subdivision plat to be reviewed by P&Z as well as City Council. And so this is just a little bit of background about this is a 235-acre area. You can see highlighted in red at the center of your screen there. West Palouse River Drive ball fields to the north, Schweitzer property located directly to the east, and then lands within Latah County to the west and to the south. So this was the zoning configuration that was adopted upon annexation. You see that northern corner there, residential office adjacent to Palouse River Drive and the ball fields. The remainder of the property zoned R3. So this is a plat map georeferenced on our aerial to give you an idea of the future layout of the subdivision. So you can see in the northwest corner, this will eventually be Augustine Avenue, transitions to Eddington Avenue, which really parallels the property line for the park boundary. Then you've got Conestoga Street, which ends up coming in here, going up, teeing into that intersection, coming down through the park property and tying in with the subdivision. So essentially the plat without the aerial, you can see the zoning or the street configuration. All these properties are essentially rear loaded by an alley as well to the north and to the south. So this is starting in the west and moving to the east, just a closer view of the plat. We've got those larger residential office lots. So lot 1 and lot 2 here. This is a stormwater parcel we'll see in the next slide. But essentially you have the Augustine Avenue ends up teeing in Eddington, alley loaded here for all these townhouses. So the western portion of the subdivision is essentially all townhouses and then transitions to more and a larger lot, single family lots. So just moving to the east. With our townhouse standards, we require a easement and pedestrian pathways which connect to the rear. And so every so many townhouses, you'll see these easements, and that'll eventually be just a sidewalk that connects the public sidewalk to the rear of those properties. These are also tracks, which include some city utility easements, as well as parking for the residents of the townhouses and visitors. Once again, these are all alley loaded. So on the south side, you see the alley coming in. And then moving to the east, you can see the same kind of configuration there with townhouses. And then we eventually make the transition into not real large, about 6,000 square foot, just detached single family lots. Moving again to the east with the intersection of Conestoga foot single family lots. There's a tract, a stormwater tract here on the east side. So the commission did review the final subdivision plat, and that happened July 27th of this year, and they recommended approval to City Council. Staff's recommendation is that the committee recommend approval of the Eddington First Edition final plat to the full council. And certainly be able to answer any questions you had.
So I guess I'm wondering what else we have on the agenda. I'm just thinking it's been a while since we've seen like even more than one or two houses being like approved to be built. So I'm tempted to say we put it on regular agenda, but I don't know what we have.
We're pretty heavy. We have 3 public
Okay.
hearings
Okay.
scheduled for that evening.
Looking good.
So it'd be my recommendation if the
To keep it on
committee is
consent.
okay to put it on consent.
Yeah.
Because it's a pro forma review, administrative approval. There's no public comments except or take.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about public comment so much as I don't know. Folks don't always know to tune in at 4:00 prime time on a Monday to hear the latest and greatest coming up from planning and zoning. So it's fine on consent. If it wasn't a heavy hitting one, I would have made the case to put it on regular. So
All right, so recommend approval, consent agenda.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, our second to the last item is open budget for fiscal year 21-22, in parentheses FY 2022. That's confusing. Review, Sarah Banks / Bill Belknap or Renee Tack. Hello.
Sarah
here
is
today.
gone, so Renee will be filling in.
How are you guys?
We'll
Good,
still
how
let
are
you be
you?
yourself today.
Good. So open budget for fiscal 22, we're requesting 10 changes totaling $3,189,600. Broken down as follows: the general fund, $616,894, mostly consisting of bringing in revenue that we received that wasn't originally budgeted, for ARPA funds and for some contributions and donations, and expending those accordingly listed on the handout that you received. Streets, we had a beginning fund balance. So the total we're requesting for streets is $1,344,200. We had a beginning fund balance of $694,244. We received additional, some one-time streets and highway funding from the state of Idaho. And we also received a new type of funding for $165,000. Both of these funds are requesting to bring over into ending fund balance to be moved into for future streets projects in 2023. Recreation and Parks, $6,500. That was a state grant that they received for the Idaho Physical Activity Program to be used this year. Capital Projects Fund, $972,000 relating to the sale of the old police facility. And then also a federal grant revenue of $250,000 for the Children Pedestrian Safety Grant for Mountain View Corridor Project, where the grant for Mountain View Corridor will be spent this year on sidewalks, and we're wanting to bring over the $972,000 for the sale of the police station into capital projects ending fund balance. Any questions on all that?
I have no questions about it. Thank you.
Not a one. Okay, can that go on consent? But we're just consenting up a
Actually, I'm
storm.
sorry. This is not
It's an
consent. We have to have
ordinance.
a public hearing for the amendment to the budget. So that is one of our 3 public hearings scheduled for Monday night.
Okay,
Or I
sorry.
should say Tuesday night, because this will be Tuesday the 6th after the Labor Day holiday.
indeed.
Okay, Renee, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Regular agenda, Mr. Belknap, do we have any
Yes.
staff reports?
There are no reports today.
Okay. Want to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Okay,
All right. Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you very much.